What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and this is another episode of Facts Project. Today, I have a special guest, Anthony Stokes, creator of Decay, a supernatural revenge horror tale. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thank you for having me. We had to talk about some Black indie art, and to see my comic book on that shelf amongst some other Black creators is going to be fantastic.
Bro, it will happen in time, most definitely. But I appreciate you nonetheless. Mainly the talk that we were happening was more so based on the fact that we are not a monolith to our way of thinking, especially in Black indie, because every single genre that I have literally here behind my wall are different genres that within mainstream that anybody can basically reach out to. So to add yours to the collection is more than worthy.
Yeah, and anytime somebody, because I'm especially when I first started on Twitter, I didn't have a big following, and I still don't. You know, we work. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
But like, you're not having me on for the clout. You know, it's for the genuine love of the culture. So that means a whole lot. So I really do appreciate being here.
No doubt, man. So let's dive into Decay real quick. So first question I wanted to basically get into is that you've described this book for people that have a general interest in basically a lot of mainstream character properties like The Crow, Frankenstein, Lovecraft Country, Monkey Bone. Why those?
Monkey's Paw.
Oh, I'm sorry, Monkey's Paw. Yeah. So why those?
It's a lot different.
I said Monkey Bone. That's a group. Shit. But more so like, why did you choose those properties over anything?
In the original Kickstarter had Don't Be a Menace to Society as well. And so essentially it's just about the feeling of dread, that feeling of like a hand tightening around your throat. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of just like, like that bad feeling you can't shake. That's what we going for. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I went for dread is because, especially starting out, and this is a pseudo realistic. It's a low concept, is what I would say. There's no superheroes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta keep people entertained. What do? You add that dread so that you're constantly feeling something. You want your audience to feel something the whole thing, so that the dread will kind of pull its own weight and add a tone throughout the whole story.
For sure. And interestingly, in this plot, I mean, you chose a particular setting, and it does resolve around like the entire storyline. So you chose the setting of New Orleans. And why in this type of distinction did you choose that setting?
All right, so there's the cynical answer, and then there's like the writer proper answer. I'm a screenwriter. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I did originally. And while I love making comic books, it's super fulfilling. I love it. My heart, I want to be a movie director. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
Like the joy that people get from reading comic books, that's what I get from watching like a movie or a TV show. So it's good, but it's like, and also I love writing dialogue. So comics aren't, it's important, but it's not necessarily the focus of a comic book. It's a visual medium.
It's true.
You don't want to overtake the paneling in the pages with a lot of dialogue. So that was it's a little bit of, you have to use restraint. So New Orleans, because of Hurricane Katrina, you get a tax break if you film there. So I was like, they're gonna make a lot of hard R comic book movies coming soon. They're gonna make a lot of original hard R comic books movies. Why not kind of get in on that? So I'm like trying to predict the trend and eat off of that basically. So that's why, that's the original thought process. And then the writer reason to pick New Orleans is because New Orleans almost has like a comic book lore.
It does.
It's got a history. It's interesting. It's a melting pot within a melting pot, which is America. So you got Creole, French, West Indies, all American, Southern culture, like it's South American culture, Central American culture. Like it's just all these different things coming together in one place.
Sounds like gumbo.
That's interesting. Absolutely, I can't wait to go. You know what I'm saying? This campaign pop off, I'll buy a ticket. But and then you have the Hurricane Katrina is not I want to be kind of like an undercurrent for the comic book. Like, I think there's stories that are about social commentary, and those are great. And I think there's stories that aren't about it. And
Right.
we had a conversation about everything being political.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make social commentary, make it really, make it like really subtle, or make it all the way about that. Don't do something in the middle to where you're basically you're making a subpar product, and your message is getting washed away. So that's another reason. It's just like that kind of like, that's what I would imagine if you stayed in in New Orleans after that. I feel like you would feel some dread. You would feel a little, you feel a little unsafe, So that's why, that's a really long answer for why I picked New Orleans.
Nah, yeah, totally understood. And one of the particular aspects of like one of the panels that was drawn is when Jess Kane was basically like visiting her parents' grave. And if you've ever seen those cemeteries in New Orleans, they have those graves that are like on top of one another.
Above ground.
Concrete, yeah, like above ground, almost like what do they call those? A mausoleum. In perspective, basically above ground, and you see her there, and you see other names that are like right next to it, and then everything's pretty much above ground. There's not those tombs or basically grave sites that are in the ground. The cemeteries are massive in New Orleans.
Oh yeah, they're gorgeous.
Yeah, man. That's exactly how they look. So
Yeah.
basically, if we were like to throw your screenwriter hat on and look at the way that you basically put this book together, there's a lot, basically what you said earlier, how you've described how you wrote this story personally, using dialogue for some leans, for some panels, and then also using just description where there's no dialogue at all. How do you manage that from page to page?
Well, I think screenwriting is a visual medium. I think people argue comic books are a more visual medium because there's no sound. So it all comes from visual storytelling. Like when you're telling the story visually, right? Like some of your favorite scenes have no dialogue. You know what I'm saying? Like that's almost like, yeah, like I'm trying to think. I mean, hey, let's think of what's the movie? John Krasinski, don't what is it? I'm sorry. With the monsters and stuff,
Oh,
and they have to be quiet.
Quiet Place.
Quiet Place, right? Like part of what makes a Quiet Place so cool is that like they have to do the world building, and the family cannot communicate through traditional means, right? So there is dialogue, but it's not spoken. So it's like kind of dialogue. So that's just an example of trying to be clever, and kind of it writes you in a corner that you have to write yourself out of. Also, again, from a cynical perspective, the more pages that don't have dialogue, a little bit, I get to save a little bit of money. You know what I'm saying? Like these things ain't cheap. So, you got to put your producer hat on too.
True. Now, can we talk about the intricate plot that basically brings this storyline to an early climactic beginning with the untimely demise and the death of Marcus and DK?
You want my thought process on that? All right. So yeah. And so you want to start. So the anatomy of a scene, I would say the 4 elements of a scene are story, tone, theme, and character. So that's what individual scenes, when you see something really good, like a Pulp Fiction, it's like it's all 4. Every scene has all 4, an element of all 4, and it's firing on all cylinders. The reason why opening scenes are so good is because they have all those 4 elements. So that was include that, and you get it very swiftly. You very swiftly understand what this is. This is about. This is very bleak. We understand this is going to be the start of a character arc. We understand that this is going to be about death or grief or something like that. I said tone, story, and then it's the start of the story. Like, right? Like, so,
Right.
So that's why I did it. Also, you were going to know very immediately if Decay is for you or not.
Now,
also, I got to grip people. You know what I'm saying? Like I would say on every interview, nobody owes me anything. Even the people that owe me something don't feel like they owe me anything.
Right.
People that care about me, people that love me. You think everybody in my family donated? No. So I have to win people over that ultimately don't care about me. How do I do that? I can't wait like, oh, 5, 6, 7 pages. This is gonna be amazing. Like, no, you gotta get them immediately.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing, because you kind of like trick the audience, because literally through the beginning of the Kickstarter campaigns, you have this one panel of DK standing over the body of Marcus. And you're thinking ultimately in this story, if you've never read issue 1 or issue 2, that pretty much Marcus is going to be the protagonist, that he's going to be the one that's going to be resurrected. And then when you finally read issue 1, you're like, oh shit, Marcus goes too.
DK goes too.
I'm sorry, DK goes too.
Right. That's the twist. And that's the thing that's like, okay. So there's so another thing that's missing from Decay issue 1 is exposition, or really heavy-handed exposition. And we think of exposition is something that you need to understand the plot. So if we think about Star Wars, what's the exposition? There's there's the rebels, there's the Republic. The rebels are getting beat up, basically. There's a robot, there's Princess Leia. That's the exposition. And the way that Star Wars gets around that is having it all at the beginning. And then from the rest of it, it is visual storytelling, right?
Right.
At no point does a character say, like, we have to rescue Princess Leia, whose father is blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exposition, there's no exposition. I wanted you don't even know DK's name till the second issue, unless you got the variant cover, which was in the style of Tales from the Crypt. Little plug there. Because I didn't want to have it showing like, hey, DK, pass me that bottle. Again, I'm thinking about, I want every line of dialogue to be fantastic or brief. That's the goal. So yeah, there's no exposition. So damn, I'm not gonna lie, I forgot. I'm so tired, bro, with this campaign. What was your question?
No, for the most part, like, what was it like to basically trick the audience? Because
right
in that aspect.
Yeah, so you want to keep things. I wanted to catch them. I wanted to catch them off guard, and something like, again, this isn't like Superman. This isn't an established property, so you got to get them somehow. Oh, I know what my point was. I'm filibustering just now. Okay, so they're talking about bringing somebody back from the dead with voodoo, and you think they're talking about Marcus. So that's kind of obvious, right? That's really obvious foreshadowing. Yeah. But then you turn it on its head, and it's like, oh, like, this is actually for DK is essentially talking about himself. So that was to get around that, like, because that I think if that's the most obvious piece of storytelling, then I'll eat that, and then you even flip it on its head. So I think it kind of I think it's a bit clever, if I do say so myself.
That's true. Now there's a lot of perception, of course, around the religious undertones that you brought up in the book. Now, you talked about voodoo. Now, what is your, I guess, opinion about the stigma about voodoo as a religious culture?
I'm so glad you asked me about that, because when you get a physical copy, the word voodoo is not in it, because Western media has vilified voodoo and made it something that's really ugly, really grimy, really dirty. Right. It was a big deal to me to just be like, this is a set of beliefs. Hating on somebody because of their beliefs, we know what that looks like historically. Right. That's wrong. We understand that. So when you see her shrine, I was like, in the script I wrote, she's smiling. This is a pleasant moment that she's having with herself. This isn't like her cutting a head off of a chicken or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So that shrine is gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that it's bright, it's well lit, and even better, she doesn't bring her. He asked, why didn't you bring will be the final script, your stuff from your shrine? She said, Mom and Dad were Christian. So what does that tell you? She's respectful of other people's beliefs. So it's very subtle character building. So we don't have to stop the plot, because again, I only got so many pages. I don't know if people know this, but when you're writing a comic book, at least from a lot of printers, you have to do them divisible by 4, because they take a sheet of paper, they fold it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can't do 23 pages, it has to be 24. So you have to be real economical. And I mean that like on multiple ways. Yeah. How many? So I had to build character where I can, really subtly. It's almost like I call it run and gun. Like, it's like, all right, you get like this detail. And before you've even realized it, I fully fleshed out this. I mean, not fully, but I fleshed out this character somewhat within 3 pages.
Yeah.
While still telling the story.
Do you feel like even though maybe it wasn't that built up within issue 1 or issue 2, because this is a 5-page arc, that there'll be a more established meaning with maybe Jess Kane as far as how big voodoo is in her life?
I think the voodoo is kind of like it's in there to as a plot point, and like I said, hopefully I represented it well. But that's not. It's a brother and sister story.
Okay.
So not really, and I don't know how much more character development you need. I made a joke like, what do you need to know her like? Because some people were like, oh, the characters were underdeveloped or something like that. Like, what do you need their SAT scores? you need, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need a social security number. Like, what more do you need? Like, when you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, and I'm a begrudgingly a big Tarantino fan. When Vincent Vega pops up from Pulp Fiction, you know what he's about. You don't need to know his backstory. All you know about him is that he came from Amsterdam. That's it. But you understand him. You understand these characters because of you like you like screen grab a moment that defines them as characters and you keep it pushing.
Okay. Now basically when we look at the issue 1 where DK of course was resurrected, what's similar, I guess, traits or anything you may have looked at in modern media that made you look at resurrection as a tool for a plot in a story?
I think it was it's like the playing God aspect, right? And even what I really enjoyed was playing with the tropes of like the zombie, like the last page is very reminiscent of Night of the Living Dead. The first page of issue 2 is very like, who, you know what I'm saying? And I like that because it's like, all right, we're playing with horror because this is a kind of a silly story. Like for me, you know, this is you know what I'm saying? Like you can't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
So it's nice to just kind of throw in those little things that like, hey, we're in, you know, we can have a good time with this too. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I genuinely feel as if Decay is pretty original. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong. I told people all the time, don't worry about being original, because I'm sure you've seen Kickstarters that are like homages to popular big 2 comic books.
Oh, absolutely.
Do they sell?
Some.
Yeah. Yeah, they make bands. Like
and the thing is, even if they're parodies of certain properties, they'll sell. Not even in the aspect that they're carbon copies. They could obviously be making fun of that current property.
You're describing Deadpool.
Yeah, like totally
the biggest comic book character ever.
Yeah, and just literally like take it on as a parody. Like, I'm actually making fun of this character. I think this character is awful. Therefore, I made a character.
Yeah.
Because of it, and yet I'm still gonna make bank because my whole stick is that I'm going to bash the hell out of this character. It's funny to me.
Yeah.
You know.
And even on that back row, so I see some comic books, but I had, like most of them are covered up, but I see the one with the Doctor Doom. So if I'm walking by, right, a booth, and let's say you had all those comic books lined up, let's say you're not you or me who kind of sees these Kickstarters, we're aware of what's going on. What's the first person? The person's gonna look at the Doctor Doom. I love Doctor Doom. My dad loves Doctor Doom.
Yeah. And if you're a hip hop fan, you're gonna see the MF Doom mask. You're gonna be like, yo, what is that?
What is that? Exactly. So it does behoove you a little bit to be not original. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's not a concern, but I don't think there's a lot of influences that I wore on my sleeve too heavy. I feel like it's genuinely something that exists in its own kind of a lane, and almost to my detriment, because it's not easy to sell it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a super gory horror. It's not NSFW. There's no social issues or you know, it's a black comic book, but I'm not broadcasting it as such. People can take away what they want. So it's like, looking back, would I think about making like maybe like a Black Wolverine or something like that? I don't think about it. It'd be easy to sell.
This is true.
Something to think about. So,
generally in the story, you've also described that morality plays a big part in it. And that no-win situations based on how this is totally described plays a big part. Is DK accepting of his fate now that he's been resurrected?
I think I want to just I do want to we are in the era of the morally gray protagonist.
Yeah.
You're describing Breaking Bad, you're describing Attack on Titan, Full Metal Alchemist, like there's a lot of stuff. So that is the era we're in. And then DK accepting his fate is in like that he's dead. I think he's just out for revenge, bro. I don't think he even thought about it. Shit, I think I think he wants revenge. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
my thing is like if he completes that mission, it's like then what?
Man, you gotta keep reading.
Word.
Issues 3 through 5, man. You'll
Yeah,
figure it
man.
out.
So talk about like the emblem's purpose, because when he got resurrected for the first time, of course, literally, and one of the funniest parts, and I don't think anybody think it was.
I love it, bro.
One of the funniest parts in this was the fact that as soon as he arrives on Jess's door, she tells him that he stink. And he just got resurrected, and she tells him to go take a shower, and he goes to take a shower.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I thought that was a funny ass part.
Can I tell you something else that's great about that? Is from a nerdy kind of writer perspective, is if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever seen I know you know who Trey Stone and Matt Parker are.
Yeah, South Park. So they talk about it, and you can watch South Park and realize this. They had a bunch of plot points, and they said if you can put because or therefore between these plot points, you've got a story. Yeah. If you put, can I cuss on here? Yeah.
If you put and then between these plot points, you might have fucked up. That's a direct quote. So them saying, yeah, it's I don't want to say a parody, but it's like that people say that, let me guess, I look like shit, and it's like, you smell like shit, which is kind of like a little bit of clever dialogue, I would say.
True.
And then saying you need a shower, that's because he thinks he takes a shower, and because he goes to take a shower, he takes off the necklace. Because that, you know what I'm saying? So it's a verbal lead into the next scene.
Yeah.
Which I can't tell you how fucking excited. That's how much I love this. Like I fucking it's so I love that things kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
That there's a literal because in the story.
Yeah, because I feel like if I was the Lord, if I was ever to run into a zombie, more than likely he would smell like shit.
Hey, he just got buried. He just dug. He at least smell like earth.
Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? Straight up.
Yeah. And it plays into like zombies might stink. Like it has a lot of layers, and it's simple. And I hate to sound like, you got to really think about this shit. Like it's not that deep, but I'm saying like you have to layer stuff like this when your story. That's the beauty of having a simple story, is you can layer this stuff, and it doesn't have to stop to make a point or stop to be a satire. It just keeps on chugging. If you notice it, you notice it. You know, if you know, like people like to say.
Word. Now, as far as like the characters in the story, I know a lot of writers tend to put a lot of real life people into those stories. Are DK, Marcus, Jess, Trey, are any of those people real life people in your life?
I think the idea of them are.
Okay.
So we all know a Trey.
Oh yeah.
We've all been at house parties and sticky situations, and we see a guy walk in. It's like, he might have to peace out. We know Jess. We know the girl that's like really sweet but kind of morbid. You know, a little weird. You know, we know DK's kind of a scaredy cat. We know Marcus, he's more adventurous, more ambitious. So it's like, do we all know these people?
Yeah.
And that goes back to being able to immediately identify. It's like shorthand. Like you want to find the human story. When we're making these comic books, we have to find the human story. That's what makes them interesting. A lot of times these people will get so caught up in the lore that they've made in their head because they've been working on this for 4, 5, 6 years, and they'll tell you like, oh, it's the war between these two factions. And you're like, bro, why should I care? I'm gonna stop you right there. Why should I care? Like what is the human element that's going to get me invested into your lore? Because you watch Attack on Titan?
I've only watched a few episodes.
Perfect. What happens in the first episode of Attack on Titan? His mom gets eaten. We are immediately, there's all kinds of other shit that happens in Attack on Titan, but immediately we identify with that character because he's gone through personal. I mean, it's not too much different from Decay for real. Yeah. Like really, like motherfuckers get smoked. And it's like that's immediately you identify with that character. And then we get into the crazy shit. The crazy shit can unravel, but I'm invested. That's so important.
Right. Because it's almost like I guess an act of care. You've seen this trauma happen in real time to somebody, and then yet you're following this person almost like, I hope that nothing happens to him.
Yeah.
And yet you see this person like fight like hell in order for them to do so. So like that works out in that benefit. Now I like to, of course, talk to writers about their artists. When exactly did this collaboration with Mark Oliver happen?
So I've been working with Mark a little bit. So I knew I wanted to write a series. I was like, all right, let me try out. So I got one artist, wasn't working out, basically got misled. I got another artist who we actually reconciled yesterday. Actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll burn a bridge, but I'll try to throw that motherfucker back up too. So I'm good there. And so Mark just did a great job with the colors, and he's just a really good artist. And I was like, not only is this somebody I can work with, it's somebody I can grow with. And you'll see issue 2, the art is a lot better to me. And yeah, funny thing is he doesn't speak English. He speaks Portuguese. He's Brazilian.
Oh, he's Brazilian. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like amazing that this comic book even gets made, to be 100% honest.
So not even in the traditional aspects, he's done penciling, inking, and he's done the coloring in this book.
Yes. And then my good friend, who's like sort of like my mentor, SK,
did the
lettering. And so issue 1 didn't have any onomatopoeias, which I wish I knew if it was a conscious choice or not. I certainly didn't. That's not why I read comics, so it makes sense that it slipped my mind. But also, there weren't a lot of places for onomatopoeias. Like what a gunshot looks like. So but now we have onomatopoeias and they're gorgeous. Like the text is gorgeous. Like it. Man, so it's like I feel like the team is getting better. We're working together. The chemistry is getting better. So the art is only going to go up from here.
Definitely. So pretty much we're sold on Mark being on board for the next 3 issues. Like this whole arc is going to be marking you.
Yeah, man. He does a great work. He does great work.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have him work. If we're not working together on next series, I'm gonna have him do some covers. You know what I'm saying? I'm always gonna work with Mark. You never forget your first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And again, the variant covers that basically came out, you actually got a collaboration with like I guess four different artists, correct?
4 different artists. I'm gonna try to. Okay. So I know Lane Lloyd, who is a indie comic darling, Rich Ragsdale, who's actually a director, who's gracious enough to give me a cover. Oh man! And then I work with DNS Portless, who I think we're talking about making a new series as well. So he did the Hurricane Katrina cover, which I think is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then I'm last
Raglan, right?
Rich Ragsdale was the guy who did the retro. And then there was a 4th guy that I interacted with him the least. That's why I don't remember his name. But and the great thing about variant covers is that you can, a couple things that are great about variant covers. You're not tethered to the style of the artist, right? You're completely tethered, and I'm Attack on Titan is my favorite show ever. But if you watch an intro to Attack on Titan, it's a lot of foreshadowing. It's a lot of like obfuscated images that just leave you just wanting more. Like a good variant cover to me should tell its own story.
Gotcha.
And that's been really exciting. That's my favorite part of the process, to be 100%. Doing podcasts like this, where I'm having a great conversation. And then the second part is reaching out to these artists and getting these great variant covers. You know what I'm saying? And the standard covers are great too. So you know what I'm saying? Like it's true. Man, I feel very fortunate.
So for somebody, of course, is now a heavy participant in the indie comic industry, how would you describe the industry?
It's amazing, especially coming from screenwriting, the screenwriting community, which I would describe as a pack of piranhas. Yeah, I mean, because you gotta think screenwriting is so competitive, bro.
Mm,
Like, first off, there's nepotism.
mm,
Second off, there's the diversity aspect, and look, it exists. You know what I mean? I know you don't mind hearing about it, but it
mhm.
exists,
Yeah,
bro. There's not a lot of people like look like us writing screenplays. If it is, it's probably Jordan Peele,
yeah.
Ryan Coogler. Like, it's not a lot. You can kind of Spike Lee. You can count them on one hand.
And the
That
thing
doesn't
is,
speak to
you,
women as well. It doesn't speak to any
yeah.
Native, any group. So it's like there's that. I'm sorry, you were saying.
Nah, I was saying even in some of those mainstream artists, like you talk about a Jordan Peele, like that first Get Out, that shit took it was done. It took 3 years to actually get greenlit.
Yeah, he had to do Mad TV, and then Jordan
Yeah,
Peele, Keanu. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, and so it's just harder. So it's especially if you look like me, it's especially hard. And then if you posted something that was a little bit off, I'll tell you the defining thing for me. If you posted something that was off center, they would tear you to fucking shreds. Oh, do you realize this is a thing, right? You realize you did this. And like, yeah, it's a conscious choice.
hmm
Man, if somebody on the internet gives you what they consider constructive criticism and you don't like it, bro, just walk away.
mm.
Just walk. Don't even argue with them. Just walk away. So yeah, they tore my ass up. And I'm like, bro, like, I understand that we want to be fundamentally sound, but who the hell we want to watch? We want to write like Quentin Tarantino. We want to write
Yeah,
Marvel movies and shit. You know what I'm saying? We want to write the fun shit. And like Jaws is like is a perfect script.
right.
Anybody know who wrote Jaws?
No.
I can't. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not why you screenwrite, to make something that's fundamentally perfect. I don't think Jaws is again probably the best script ever. I don't think there's a lot of personality
Yeah, not
for
a
the
lot of
writer in there.
dialogue either, man.
Yeah, it's a fucking amazing, but it's an amazing movie. It's an amazing script, but you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So you go to the indie comics and it's like, oh, this is different. I love this. Oh shit. The only thing that they will tell you, and I'm gonna tell you as well, is don't come at me with this big ass, like, One Piece sized pitch
Mhm.
and you haven't made one comic book. I'll tell you that. Like, don't
Right.
do that shit. Cause like I'm gonna tell you, like, bro, just stop. I will tell you that shit. Like, I don't have the time, bro. Elevator pitch. But they love that. It's like the Wild Wild West. And the indie comics community, they champion diversity. You
Yes,
know
they
what I'm
do.
saying? So, and we can all eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not there's room for everybody. We can feed
Yeah,
off each other. I can't tell you how many of the people that back my Kickstarter were indie creators.
exactly.
So I mean, it's just amazing. You know what I'm saying? And of course, there's sour apples and stuff like that, but mainly, like, it's been entirely positive. Like, it's hot. Like, there's it's been nothing but great interactions. Anything that's even, I just brush it off. But it's incredible. I would, if I had what I knew now that indie comics Twitter was like it was, man. I can't imagine how much damn money I would have funded for the KSU2 N1.
Yeah.
Boy,
Man,
like,
look, I always say if I knew then what I knew now about indie comics back when I first started buying comics.
yeah,
But first indie comic that I ever bought was Brother Man, which was back in like the late 90s.
okay,
And like that was like the first indie comic that I ever bought. And the thing is, I bought that one and I still just bought mainstream comics and everything like that. But then, like, of course, through the circulations of the internet, you come to find out that there's this gigantic community, of
gigantic.
like superior to the point where, Kickstarter can make $30 million off of indie comics alone. And then you come to realize that that Kickstarter could literally be a publishing company for indie comics
It pretty much is.
if they pseudo said to, but of course they sell record players and necklaces and shit like
Yeah,
that, so they can't be
that's
persuaded
what
to
Zoop is,
be.
though.
Yeah, exactly. And I had the co-founder of Zoop on last week, and we talked about that. He said basically it's something that comic creators have always been looking for because they
Yeah,
wanted a crowdfunding site that was pertained strictly to them.
Yeah.
And that works out in their benefit. Kickstarter, of course, has all their other things that they want to work on, which is totally fine. You're a business. You can work on whatever the fuck you want to work on. You know, for people that work in indie comics or people that just work in comics general, and you can even tell by the people that work in mainstream that pretty much now are like jumping to Substack because they want to do indie comics. They've always wanted to do their own shit in the first place, and then they're putting out books anyway. You know, like anybody can write Spider. It seems like everybody's written Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, is that everybody?
Not me?
Okay, yeah, but in perception, because there's so many people that have written Spider-Man, it's kind of like, okay, what happens with if I put out a Spider-Man book, and you see like the backlash that pretty much a lot of creators are giving, like a lot of the shit that's coming out on film, they don't get the credit that they deserve or like the royalties that they deserve. But yet, if they put out their own IP and it goes on the screen, that's my shit.
Oscar Isaac just dropped a comic book on Kickstarter concurrently while being Moon Knight. Is genius.
Yeah, it's like, why not? You know,
that's why I made Decay, because I'm like, I'm trying to get into trying to like traverse this to exactly. No, you're 100% right.
Yeah, it's like,
and these indie comics are good. Like I truthfully, I mean, the stuff I'm reading is better than like the Ultimate Spider-Man I read 10 years ago.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the subgenres, like we get that Marvel and DC don't really like jump into that unless you go into like DC Black Label and you get into like Road to Perdition and History of Violence and stuff like that. That stuff you don't even perceive as comic books. V for Vendetta, you don't perceive those as comic books, but they're comic books. The Crow, it's a comic book. You know what I'm saying? But you know, like a lot of people just see superhero. They don't even realize that Blade Runner is a comic book right now. You know what I'm saying? It's probably one of the best comic books out there on like on Titan Comics and everything like that. It's a sci-fi driven comic. It's super in depth. It's got a ton of dialogue, and it's literally written in the perspective of the mainstream medium, the film itself, the two films that came out. So like to see that fantasy being brought to focus, shit, there's even like country western styled, spaghetti western styled comics that are out there. The opportunities are endless.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
100%.
Everybody's hitting a goal regardless of what they're doing. Because you got to understand that, you know, there's a niche for everyone. You know, not everybody's going to have the same personality. Some people
even better.
Yeah.
When like Keanu Reeves comes and he brings like tens of thousands of people onto the platform, that's good for us.
Yeah,
as long as they deliver, as long as they are delivering the product, it's good for everybody.
Exactly. It's like Berserker being the biggest Kickstarter ever. I mean, I get it. There was this backlash beyond it, but the thing is, I was like, you see what he did, right? And it was like, all I'm going to do is add my name. People have read Berserker before. I'm just going to add my name. I'm probably going to get the artist to draw my likeness as Berserker, and let's see what happens. You know, I'm sure the people at Boom Studios was like, you know what I'm saying? This sounds like a great idea. This might be a big marketing ploy for Berserker that wasn't there before when it was like a manga back in the day. So how do we just make it as big as what we want to make it? Let's just add Keanu. Keanu, of course, being a worldwide phenomenon as an actor. He's been in so many mainstream properties.
He bounced back too like a motherfucker.
You know what I'm saying? You know, this is speed Keanu Reeves. You know what I'm saying? This dude turned from this to this. You know, Matrix pretty much made his career. And yet he still gets the opportunity to be like, hey, I want to attach myself to a comic book.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? But yeah, no, the indie comic space is incredible. And there's so many resources. That's the thing. It's like there's just so many resources. Everybody's super helpful. I very rarely ask for advice and get like no response done like that. So it is fantastic. And then we hadn't even gotten to like anime manga Twitter. But we tap into it, man. I'm thinking of like a manga comic book. I'm trying to tap into that black Twitter market, man.
Look, it's not even there because there are black manga artists and creators that are out there currently right now. Midnight
absolutely.
Bro. Midnight Comics that I got right here, these little mangas right here, they read from, instead of right to left, they read from left to right, just like traditional mangas in Japan.
That's really smart. That's really smart, Brandon.
You know what I'm saying? So like, there's people out there. Like I said, there's a niche for everybody. Everybody makes anything, and then somebody, if not a very large group of people, will like it.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's such a big intersection between like black, I want to say like millennials, like, and I say that like the whole generation in manga. Like it only makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
I'm trying to get that bag too.
yeah. It's
I
like,
got some ideas cooking.
I love the fact that the black anime community, the people that just love anime, are way bigger now than what they were when I was a kid.
Are you sure? Are
Yeah,
they bigger?
yeah, yeah. When I was watching like Jinro and when Akira came out for the first time,
Okay, fair enough.
and you know what I'm saying? Like people that we had to go find shit.
Fair
You
enough.
know what I'm saying? Like it was us going to Blockbuster and West Coast Video, and there'd be this teensy weensy small section, or you go to Suncoast Video and literally had to spend $25 per episode for a DVD, and then you would literally
Yeah.
be broke by the end of the series. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm thinking like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, but I'm like, I was born in the
bro?
90s.
The internet made everything accessible. Like when it
Yeah.
came to when it came to like Crunchyroll and Funimation, when they basically put out the animes in which they wanted to, and then the people, of course, had the opportunity to download it illegally, and then they got to see it consistently on a day and day process. I wish I
Yeah.
had that shit when I was young.
I mean, even I wish I mean, like, yeah, even for me, like I remember very distinctly, like I would have to, I used to like Dot Hack, and Dot Hack came on at like 1:30 in the morning,
Yeah,
and you had to, you just, I mean, you would just stay up. I do miss like this kind of nostalgia of just like, what the
Toonami,
hell is on Toonami? What the hell's
Toonami.
on Toonami? Who knows? I saw
Yeah,
a Ghost in the Shell episode, and I still have not found the episode that no need, like you'd watch one episode of that
it'd be
stuff,
mad.
it would have just, it would have real estate in your mind forever.
Hmm.
So no, I mean, yeah, you're right. The internet is, like I've said it, that the internet has raised the floor on making anything, making music. Like as far as distribution, I don't like when people say that rap sucks nowadays. I'm
Mm.
like, yo,
You can go
maybe at the
find it.
very top, but you got to think, there are there's so much rap music coming out today,
Yeah,
from a pure like quantity of good
yeah.
songs. I
You
mean,
can.
we had Future, Pusha, and Hendrix dropping within like a month of each other.
Yeah,
But you also, there's probably some guy that like nobody knows about yet making, there's SoundCloud, there's all this stuff. Like it's just too much good music
yeah,
out there for me. I'm remembering like we used to have to buy CDs. If you bought a CD and that shit was trash, your whole weekend
yeah.
is gone.
You playing in the car, you basically want to throw it out the window.
Thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And I'm
And,
like,
and because there's so much of a quantity that's out there, you can find, if you really love music, you'll find good music.
you'll find the good music, you'll find the good comic books, you'll
Yep.
find, the only industry I think that hasn't like done it because it's so expensive is films.
Yeah.
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
And even I think the ceiling has been lowered in a sense, in that you can go on Hulu and find like a great horror film. You know what I'm saying?
They put the hoodest of hood movies on Amazon Prime. If you if you really look for them.
You know why that is? Amazon Prime will host anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can put out art house distribution, like some shit that you made at your crib, out on Amazon Prime.
I wonder what those splits are like.
And you'll get an audience. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
Some people have that niche. Be like, I don't like watching 2-3 hour movies. I need that shit to be an hour and a half. I better laugh, and that's it.
No, you're right. No, it's great. It's a great time to be a creator.
Definitely. So, lastly, what do we expect from you for the rest of 2022, and what do we expect from Decay?
Decay is only gonna get better. With it being a narrative. With it being so narrative focused, it's only going to get better. It's only going to grow as the narrative. We're going to get to understand these characters better, the situation, the story better, the themes better. So it's only going to get up from here. And I'm really weighing making another series that might drop this year. I really have to see how this campaign goes. I have to talk to some people and figure it out. but I would like to run 2 series concurrently.
Definitely. Well, bruh, big ups to you because you got like 3 weeks left. I see it happening. It's pretty much gonna be there, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now the question is, am I going to make the big money? Because if I make the big money, yeah, that series is coming out. Now, if it's kind of like we met because I don't know if you noticed, like you have the stated goal and then you have like the goal in your head.
Right.
So if I hit the goal in my head, yeah, that new thing is coming out this summer.
For sure.
So we got to see. This is kind of a turning point, and I'm kind of trying to figure out some things. Like, okay, I'm not a I understand the comic medium, but I want to become even better. I want to be like as good as I can be. You know what I'm saying? Like I basically want to like look, if shit don't work out, it's not gonna be through a lack of effort. Like that's what I'm thinking. So really I'm trying to go, I keep calling it a training arc. So I'm gonna read comics, I'm gonna understand the medium better, try to be write better scripts, become a better collaborator, all kinds of stuff.
Word. Well, bro, I appreciate you doing this with me. This was a fantastic conversation. So anytime that you need somebody to holler at, to holler at me.
Man, thank you. So now this is great. This is definitely just doing these interviews and meeting all these great people. And I'm just like, it's gonna be so much easier issue 3 or whatever happens.
Of course.
I know who I want. I want this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Nah, man, this is fantastic.
Word. So from Anthony Stokes and Decay, James Grandmaster Facts Boys, we are out.